everyone, welcome back to Sparkle with Alicia. Today we're going to read chapter 5 to chapter 7 of Stella Bat's Broken Birthday. So, let's start. Chapter 5, All of a Sudden. All of a sudden, I had a bunch of visitors. Patricia came back to take off my clothes and put me into a hospital gown. It sounds like it should be an easy thing to do, like taking off what you wore to school and changing into a nightgown at the end of the day. But when you have a compound fracture on your left tibia, it's not that easy. Even with all the pain medicine in my leg in a splint, the nurse had to be careful about moving me. Instead of pulling off my shorts like normal, she cut them off. Yes, you read that right. Patricia took a pair of scissors and cut them right off me. They were my favorites too. Dad said, "Don't worry, I could get new ones." I didn't think he was right about that though, because Mom got them for me last summer. The store probably didn't have the same ones anymore, but I had bigger things to be upset about, like how I wasn't going to see Willa for my birthday, and the biggest upsetting thing of all, the operation. When my clothes were off and my gown was on, Patricia put all my stuff in a plastic bag and handed it to Mom, even my cut-off shorts. They were ruined, but they went in the bag too. My heart was pounding, harder than when I accidentally cut too many bangs in my hair, harder than when Penny, Leah, and I got locked in a hotel closet, harder than when Joshua and I saw a ghost on the library sleepover, harder than it ever pounded in my whole entire life. "I don't want to have an operation," I said. "I know, sweetheart," Mom said. "You're going to be fine, darling." Dad added. "That's right," Patricia said. "We have the best doctors in the world working here at Somers General, and they'll come to talk to you about it before you're wheeled in, so you will know exactly what to expect. Okay?" I said okay, but I didn't actually feel okay about it. Patricia left, and my parents and I were waiting again. I never realized that the thing you do most when you're in a hospital is wait. "Can I use your cell phone to call Willa?" I asked. Mom shook her head. "Sorry, sweets," she said. "There's a rule against phone calls in the emergency room." "Why?" "Because there are lots of medical machines in here," she said. "Sometimes making a phone call can interfere with the work the machines are doing." "But you can play some games if you want." "Really?" I asked. Mom and Dad never let Penny and me play games on their phones, even though a lot of parents let their kids. They think it's too much technology. "Sure, but it's a rule that we can't," I reminded her. "I think it's okay if we break that rule just once, don't you?" Mom said. "Yeah, okay," I told her. Mom took her phone from her purse and handed it over. I played 2.5 games of Pony Hair Salon, and then 2 more people came in to talk to us. I was in the middle of braiding a Palomino pony's hair with yellow and blue sparkle ribbons when Dad motioned me to give Mom her cell phone back. "Hello," the man said. He had on scrubs and a stethoscope around his neck. I knew he was a doctor, not a nurse. because his scrubs were blue, like Dr. Marconi's, not the color of gummy PTOs like Patricia's. He picked up a chart that was at the edge of my bed and studied it for a couple of seconds. The woman who was with him wasn't dressed as a doctor or a nurse. She had on gray pants and a pink sweater, and she said, "You must be Stella." "Yes," I said. "And Mr. and Mrs. Batts?" "I'm Elaine," Mom told her. "David," Dad said. "I'm Mary Morrison. I'm a child life specialist." "You specialize in child's lives?" I asked. "I specialize in helping kids who have to be in a hospital," she said. The man put down my chart and introduced himself. His name was Dr. Fuentes, and he was an anesthesiologist, which meant he was in charge of the medicine I'd get to put me to sleep for the operation, so I wouldn't feel a thing. He said he had a few questions for us, but mostly they were for Mom and Dad, about whether I'd had an anesthesia before. I hadn't. If I had any allergies. I didn't. Mary Morrison had a bag with her, and she pulled an iPad out of it. When Dr. Fuentes was finished with his questions, he tapped on the iPad and turned it toward me to show me a picture of a white room with a bed in the middle of a bunch of machines around it. "This is what the operating room would look like," she told me. She swiped the next pic. She swiped to the next picture. "And here is Dr. Marconi, who will be doing your operation." "I met her," I said. She showed me more pictures. One of Dr. Fuentes, who was still standing in the room with us, and the nurse, Patricia, who'd cut off my shorts. The last picture she showed me was of 3 people with caps on their heads and masks on their faces. "This is what your doctors and nurses look like when they put on their surgical caps and masks. You can tell the doctors apart because Dr. Marconi wears a plain surgical cap, but Dr. Fuentes has jungle patterns on it, a very sophisticated jungle patterns," Dr. Fuentes said. "I know they don't look like themselves," Mary Morrison went on. "But trust me, they're the same people under there, okay?" "Okay." Mary Morrison put the iPad back in her bag and pulled something else out. "This is the mask that you wear," she said. "The only time I'd worn a mask before was on Halloween. The one time I was Spider-Girl, and one time I was an owl. But this mask was much different from both of those. It was a see-through plastic circle that was big enough to fit through my nose and mouth. Mary Morrison gave it to me to hold. There was a tube coming out of the middle, and she told me that's where the gas would come in." "Gas? Like for a car?" I asked. "A different kind of gas," she said. This kind you breathe in, and it'll make sure you fall asleep so you won't feel a thing during the operation. It may smell kind of funny, but I have something for you to take care of that." She reached back into her bag. You'll never guess what she pulled out, so I'll just tell you. It was lip gloss. She had a bunch of different flavors. Banana strawberry, chocolate milk, vanilla frosting, and very cherry. Pick the one you want, she told me. I have to wear lip gloss in my operation? I asked. I glanced over at Mom. You always tell Penny and me we're too young for makeup. We can make an exception today, Mom said. Or not, Mary Morrison said. If you don't want to wear it, you don't have to. I do want to, I said. You don't need to wear it if you don't want to. I do want to, I said. Okay, Mary Morrison said. And we'll also rub the flavor you pick on the mask. So you'll smell the lip gloss instead of the gas. She let me take the caps off all the lip glosses so I could smell them. I finally decided on chocolate milk because it was the closest to smelling like chocolate fudge, which is my very favorite treat in the whole entire world. Mary Morrison made a note about my lip gloss choice. Then she left. So did Dr. Fuentes. Mom, Dad, and I were waiting again. But not for long because Dr. Marconi came back. She drew an X on my broken leg with a black marker. She said it was so everyone knew what leg needed to be operated on. There were papers for my parents to sign. Patricia was there and she flipped something on the bottom of my bed and started to wheel me to the operation room. I was crying again. I couldn't help it. Mom's eyes were watery, like she was crying a little bit too. We rode in an elevator and then down a long hall. Patricia said, "Okay, Stella, we need to say goodbye to your parents now." "No," I cried. "It's only for a couple hours. You won't even feel the time passing because you'll be asleep." "Mommy," I said, crying more. I couldn't help it. It felt like saying goodbye forever. "Daddy." "I know, darling, I know," Dad said. He clutched my hand. Mom kissed my cheeks and my forehead. I was holding Dad's hand so tight, but he made me let go, so I grabbed onto Mom. "It's okay," she said. "I'll be right here. So will Daddy. We'll be right here waiting." Dad helped her peel my hands off hers. I saw him put an arm around Mom. Then I was wheeled through the double doors, and they were gone. Chapter 6. The Signal. Dr. Fuentes and Dr. Marconi were already in the room when we got there. I could tell it was them from their surgical caps. Plus, there was another person I'd never seen. Plus, there was another person, but I've never seen him before. His surgical cap had yellow ducks on it. He said his name was Peter. He had to be a nurse because his scrubs were the PTO's color. Plus, he told me his first name, which I'd figure out the doctors never did. Patricia wheeled me up right beside the operating table. She said she and Peter lifted me up very, very carefully and moved me over. The bed got wheeled away, and Dr. Fuentes stood in the space where it had been. Do you remember everything we talked about with Mary Morrison?" he asked me. I was still crying a bit, but I managed to nod. "Chocolate milk, right?" Peter asked, and I nodded again. Dr. Fuentes lifted a mask, just like the one Morrison's bag, just like the one in Mary Morrison's bag, and moved to put it on my face. No, I'm not ready, I said. Patricia knelt beside me. Her face was so close to mine, I could smell her breath, minty, like she'd just had one of the green mint-sucking candies we have on the penny candy wall at Bad's Confections. It's all right, Stella, she said. Dr. Fuentes is here to make sure you get all the medicine you need to fall asleep. Dr. Marconi will fix your leg, and Peter and I are here for you. I looked over. Peter was right next to Dr. Fuentes, kneeling by me like Patricia was. We're here for you, Stella, Patricia said again. We'll be here the whole time. We won't leave you. That's right, Peter said. What if I feel something and I can't talk because there's a mask on my face? I asked. You won't feel a thing, Peter told me. But what if I do? This could be the first time someone feels something in an operation. We have a signal, Patricia said. You can raise your hand. My right hand, I told her. There's an IV in my left arm, and that hand is harder to raise. Your right hand, Patricia agreed. Like this, I said. I raised my hand like I was in school, and I knew the answer. I wished I was in school right then. Even though Miss Finkel was sometimes strict, I'd rather be with her than all these doctors and nurses. I'd rather be anywhere else in the whole entire world. I'll stay here on your right side the whole time, Patricia said. I'll look out for the signal, okay? Okay, but Stella, Peter said, I don't think you'll have to use it. It's good to have one just in case, I said. Sometimes you wake up when something hurts. Like one time my sister pulled my hair when I was asleep. I felt it, and it made me wake up. The medicine will keep you asleep, Peter said. Don't worry. And I know the signal, Patricia said. She was speaking soft and low, just to me. And in the same voice she said, Dr. Fuentes, I think we're ready now. Dr. Fuentes put the mask on me. It smelled like chocolate milk, but under the chocolate milk smell there was something else too. Something that smelled like rotten eggs. It made my eyes get hot with tears again. I hate this, I said, even though there was a mask over my mouth and it was hard to speak. Just breathe and count backwards in your head, Patricia told me. Let's start at 10. By the time you get to 1, I promise you won't be awake anymore. She counted out loud and I counted in my head. 10, I was still awake. 9, awake. 8, awake. 7, 6, awake. 5. Patricia's voice got farther away, like she was speaking from across the street or maybe down the block. 4, I couldn't hear her anymore. What number came next? I couldn't remember. We're going to stop right over here. Bye guys, see you at my next video.